Weirded Way Media.
Hello, Twisted Humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia. And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
154 episodes in, and we are professional podcasters. Actually, we have over 200 episodes if you include our bonus episodes, and that doesn't even include our episodes on Patreon. I want to know how many episodes we've recorded total. If anyone is counting, let me know. I'm starting the episode. It's episode 154. Feels right to start it with this level of chaos.
Yep.
I could have gone in so many different directions for this round of special topics, but in true Alicia fashion, I went back to old Hollywood for my celebrity crimes case. So thank you so much to our listeners for suggesting this topic and voting on it. Today, I will be telling you about the mysterious death of Virginia Rappe. Have you ever heard that name before? Okay. It's such a cool, twisty, turning case that I actually had a moment of panic where I was like, what if Sierra covers like an old Hollywood case and she picks this one too? So glad to know that that didn't happen. But first, do you have a fun fact for me?
I do. I found this thing on the internet because that's what I do. Anyways, fun fact is there is a soap. It's a brand of soap, of dish soap. It's called Ajax soap.
Oh yeah, it's like that industrial orange stuff, isn't it?
The picture is yellow, but yeah, right. Their slogan, is stronger than grease because yeah, duh, you got to get grease off of stuff.
Mhm.
The soap has to be stronger than grease, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Greek mythology, there was a Greek soldier named Ajax who was renowned for his strength. He was stronger than all of Greece, as in the place. And so this fucking soap marketing company is amazing.
I was going to say, fucking genius. Get them on the phone. Do you want to market for us, guys? We'd appreciate it. Anything involving Greek mythology, I'm already in, but that's really awesome.
That's so good,
Yeah,
right?
that's a really good one.
Ajax
like
is
to share
literally stronger than Greece, okay?
Fun facts that
that
you
soap.
guys can share at your dinner table and weird your family out with. This is a perfect
Exactly.
example. You got Ajax soap on your counter. Hey, Mom, guess what? Guess what I
We
learned
just
on my
made you
favorite
smarter.
podcast?
What's your fun fact?
Another common household item, nutmeg is a hallucinogen.
What?
It contains myricetin, a natural compound that has mind-altering effects. You can experience hallucinations if you ingest large quantities of nutmeg. We do not recommend trying this at home, but I thought that was super interesting.
That's so weird.
Super weird. I did not know that, but it checks out as to why most recipes only call for a touch of nutmeg. That, and it's a super strong spice. So, I mean, you don't want too much anyway. So do not try that at home. That is not what I'm suggesting.
I put a lot of nutmeg in my hot chocolate, okay?
But like, I'm going to need to dig deeper into like how much, but it says large quantities.
Right.
When you think of a jar of nutmeg, you don't think that that's a large quantity. If you're using even like a quarter of that in your hot chocolate, I think you're still okay. Like, I'm not sure if they mean like a mountain side of nutmeg. Like, I don't know. That's not what it's here to tell me, but that's my fun fact.
Fun times.
A mountain side of nutmeg. And I think I need to settle down and have some wine. And as mentioned on episode 152, I screwed up because we were ahead in our schedule before my trip. And I definitely drank the rosé wine that I was planning on featuring that day, thinking that we had already done it. And I did a little switcheroo and we did a red. So now we're back on a rosé. However, it was a really good rosé. It was an Italian rosé, but more than my weekly wine budget. So I did not buy a second bottle for this episode. And I am drinking My favorite, Bodacious Smooth White, currently for anyone watching on YouTube. I don't want to be called out. But let's talk about this rosé really quick because y'all need to try it. It is called 11 Minutes Rosé Trevininci, and it has like, like old Renaissance paintings with like Greek influence, like, think naked ladies, think curvature, think,
Okay.
That smooth, like beautiful, angelic like look of those ages. That is what's on the bottle, and it's pink and it's got little flowers all around it. It's really fucking pretty. And for some, me and Sierra have talked about this when we've covered rosé. Some have a really gross like aftertaste or mouthfeel, and this one did not. It was super smooth. It was really light. I really enjoyed it. Actually, at some points, I forgot I was drinking wine. That's how light it is. So I would recommend. You can find it in the Italian section of your winery/liquor store, and it is a mix of Syrah and Carmignac. The name 11 minutes refers to the duration of the skin contact pressing of the grapes for this particular bottle. The full load of grapes is very softly pressed for 11 minutes only. It is the optimal length of time to extract the most noble qualities in the grapes and obtain a slightly rosy shade that characterizes this wine. Once the grapes are pressed, it is cooled and transferred to a steel tank where it remains for about 11 hours. The necessary time for the more solid parts to decant, and after transferring again, it must be inoculated with the select yeast and the fermentation process begins. So this is typically aged for about 3 to 4 months, and they only do it in small batches, so it might be a little harder to find. It's 12.5% ABV, and it's fucking delicious.
Sounds very special.
And I like the 11 minutes and 11 hours. That's kind of fun. And yes, 11/11, Make-A-Wish, 100%. But not today for this gal, but I would recommend it, especially because, summer, warmer weather, sitting on a patio with your friends, sipping some rosé. Me and Sierra don't live that life because our best friend
Not
is
yet.
across the continent and in a different country, but Yes, I know you're gonna have big parties in your beautiful backyard, and I'm not gonna be there. Okay,
parties? Who's invited? I force my husband to pretend to be my best friend. Okay,
he is your
Get out
best
here
friend.
and drink wine with me.
Come let me sit in my hammock. Yeah, Sierra's backyard journey is great. If you want to hear more about that, you got to go and listen to our Bitch and Wine for the month of May and enjoy. We have lots of fun bitch and wine topics, and it's a lighter hearted segment. And I say that not because today's episode is super dark by any means. It's just wild, and you might just need that palate cleanser. I'm okay. I just left a room that was 42 degrees Celsius. My brain is still adjusting. Wait, Sarah, are you drinking your wine?
I am.
Oh, cheers to that. Before we get into this week's case, though, we are going to take a break and hear a quick promo from our friends Lindsay and Madison over at Ye Old Crime Podcast. And we will be right back.
The person whose name you mentioned in the
Virginia Rappe.
Is that the celebrity?
Yes. Well, there's actually multiple celebrities in this tale.
I don't like that I already don't know the celebrity.
It was the 1920s. Were you alive, Sierra?
Oh, okay. Listen, I know celebrities from before I lived. Elvis Presley.
True.
Okay.
True. Actually, we're convinced that me and Sierra were both alive in the 1920s at one point. Anyways, it's our era. Okay. So Virginia Rappe was an aspiring actress and model and was most noted for her work in the silent film industry in the 1900s. We have glitz, we have glam happening here. And she was honestly so gorgeous. Like super, super dark flowing hair, like piercing blue eyes. Like she looked like a doll, and it made her, facial expressions and everything in the silent film industry just that much more impactful. And she like drew you in. She was gorgeous. I will show you photos at the end. You're not allowed to search it because it will have other photos in there that might spoil it. So Virginia Caroline Rappe was born on July 7th, 1891 in Chicago, Illinois. Her mother, Mabel, passed away when she was only 11 years old, and Virginia was raised mostly by her grandmother from then on. But given the pain and the passing of her mom, she was eager to get out of Chicago and to make it on her own. When she was 18, she began working as a commercial and artist's model and moved to San Francisco shortly after that to pursue a career full time. Now, for those that are not sure what that means, like back in the day when they used to draw for commercials or like paintings or basically anything that needed a muse, she was willing to model for. In the industry, she met Robert Moskowitz, a dress designer in the industry, and the two became engaged. Although their whirlwind's love didn't last for too long because he was tragically killed in a streetcar accident shortly after their engagement. So at a young age, she's already experienced a lot of tragedy. Virginia moved to Los Angeles looking for a new start following the death of her fiancé and was hired in 1917 by Fred Balsafer to be in his film Paradise Garden. Fred was so pleased with her work and consumers' reactions to Virginia that he hired her to be in his next movie as well, called Over the Rhine. So she's killing it in her early career at this point. Her performance in this movie actually won her the awarded title Best Dressed Girl in the Pictures after its release in 1920s, which is like a very 1920s title, like Best Dressed in the Pictures. Like, remember when they used to call it, we're going to go to the pictures? It's just so stinking cute.
Remember?
Yeah,
No, I
remember
do not.
when our previous souls were there?
Oh, gosh.
In 1919, Virginia began a romance with a director and producer named Henry Learman. The couple became engaged and eventually moved in together, but this was not of the time since they were not yet married. We know this to be true because she was listed as a boarder in his home in the 1920s census, implying that she was renting a room from him and that they were not living out of wedlock. So a sneaky little workaround to avoid judgment there.
Yeah. Or truth. We don't know.
I really hope he wasn't making his own fiance rent a room. That's a dick move.
Oh, like they're already engaged and everything, and she was listed as a boarder?
Yeah.
God damn it. They're fucking engaged.
It
Who
was
cares?
it was 1919.
Ugh.
This is why we would have been burned at the stake, Sierra, okay?
Yeah.
We don't accept these parameters. Virginia went on to appear in her fiance's films like Punch of the Irish, A Game Lady, A Twilight Baby, and his musical Sneeze, which is a title choice. Although the exact number of films that she appeared in may never be known because many of them have been lost over time. Back in the day before the digital age and everything was literally just screens. Little pictures, guys. During a Labor Day party on September 5th, 2021, Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle hosted a party at his suite at the at the St. Francis Hotel in downtown San Francisco. After deciding to attend this party, there is no way that Virginia would know that this would lead to her death. So, who is Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle, you may be wondering? Let's
Why
learn
are we
a
calling
little
him
bit
Fatty?
more about him. I'll tell you why. Like Fatty in quotations, like first name, nickname, last name. That's
right. What a nickname to have.
Yeah. Roscoe Conklin Fatty Arbuckle was born on March 24th, 1887 in Smith Center, Kansas. He too was a silent film actor, and he even dabbled in directing and screenwriting. He was the youngest of 9 children born to William Arbuckle and Mary Gordon. But at his birth, he weighed, there's conflicting sources, anywhere between 13 and 16 pounds. I have not had children myself, but Sierra, picture
Is his
that
mother
coming out of your
alive?
hoo-hoo. Unfortunately, no.
I mean,
She did not die at childbirth, but she
I
did
would've.
suffer. Yeah, Sierra would have been ripped in half. But the birth was really traumatic, and especially given the times that he was born in the late 1800s, they didn't have the medical knowledge and ability that they do today. It was really traumatic, and Mary actually had lifelong chronic health problems until she died 11 years later. So this was the last birth, this was the biggest birth, and it did have, unfortunately, consequences for her. But his father believed that there is no way that he could have been his son, and that Mary must have cheated on him. Him and his
not
son.
only did she have to push a
Yeah,
13
I
to
know.
16-pound baby out,
Now she's getting
suffer
accused
for
of
11
cheating.
years from
Yeah,
it, and
yeah.
die. He's gonna fuck. Oh, men. Okay.
It gets worse. You're going to be even more mad here. So because him and his wife were both such tiny, slim builds, he's like, there's no way this kid is mine. He hated this kid from birth, no matter what Mary said. When Roscoe was he named Roscoe after a senator that he hated named Roscoe Conkling. Like, that's how much he hated this kid from birth.
Wow.
Isn't that fucked up? And also, while his stage name was Fatty Arbuckle, and that was his nickname, he actually hated it. So I'm going to refer to him as Roscoe for the entire story, just so everyone knows.
But I have to know, was it Fatty with a PH?
No, but that would have been way better. Opportunity missed. When Roscoe was about 2 years old, his family moved to Santa Ana, California, where he started performing at the young age of 8 years old with the Frank Bacon's company. And Frank Bacon was a legendary performer of his time, big on the Broadway stage, so a pretty good first opportunity for an 8-year-old. When Roscoe's mother died when he was 11, his father completely cut him off. He treated him harshly, refused to support his acting or performing, and forced him to work odd jobs, basically wherever he could to support himself. Most of the odd jobs that Roscoe got were in local hotels as maintenance man, janitor, basically anything that somebody would hire him for. Roscoe would often sing while he worked, and while working at a hotel one day, a professional singer happened to be staying there and heard him and recognized his talents. He invited Roscoe to perform at an amateur talent show. There, he sang, danced, and kind of clowned around a bit and acted out the song that he was singing. Initially, he didn't win over the audience, but he ended with a somersault into the orchestra pit, which he nailed, and the crowd went wild. He won the competition.
How do you nail a somersault?
Like off the stage into a orchestra pit? That's kind of cool. Like he landed it. Like, like he rolled off and I don't know.
Is a somersault not on the ground?
A somersault is on the ground, but you tuck and roll. So he tuck and rolled off the stage.
Yeah. Okay.
Into an orchestra pit. Sierra's so I'm not impressed.
I feel like you look like a 3-year-old when you do a somersault.
Well, he was 11, so
Oh, true.
He was a kid still.
Yeah, my 11-year-old does
somersaults.
So
oh well,
you're 11 somersaults.
Your 11-year-old is abnormal.
She's in the air.
So I was lucky if I could do a somersault. I am not Sissy. She is very talented. He won the competition and began a career in vaudeville, which is a variety entertainment group originally beginning in France, which, if memory serves me correctly, and a weird connection back to Patreon here, Olive Thomas, another silent film actress of the 1920s era, that I covered her mysterious death on a Patreon bonus. She also was in a vaudeville, like, if not like vaudeville, group at the beginning of her career. And yeah, so if you want to hear more about Olive Thomas, go and check that out.
Yeah.
In 1904, Sid Grauman, a fellow showman, invited Roscoe to sing in a theater that he had recently opened. This was the start of a long friendship and collaboration between the two. In 1906, Roscoe joined two more theater groups that allowed him to travel across the West Coast performing. In addition to his large weight at birth, Roscoe continued to be a big kid and then a big man, earning him the name Fatty. It's not a nickname that he liked in particular, but he just kind of rolled with it. He wanted to make a name for himself, and as I mentioned, his family literally abandoned him after the death of his mother. But despite his size, he was very agile and good at performing. In 1905, Roscoe met and married Minta Durfee. She was a fellow actress and collaborated with Roscoe on a few films, but she was extremely petite compared to his large stature and large size, so it added a little bit of comic appeal. And anything that the two got to be in together, it was just kind of like a funny size difference, kind of like me and Kevin.
Yeah.
Roscoe's talents brought him to new countries even. He joined the Morosco Burbank Stock Company in 1908 and spent the year touring China and Japan, his name only becoming bigger and bigger.
I'm glad his family abandoned him because they don't deserve any of that.
Yeah, and you don't get my riches, motherfucker. Although Roscoe was a talented actor, he was most recognized for his singing. In 1914, he was actually offered a contract with Paramount Pictures. Maybe you've heard of it. Earning $1,000 a day in 1914.
Doing what?
Just being a part of their network and acting in all of these short films. 25% of all of the film's profits that he appeared in also went back to Roscoe. He appeared in many films with an actress named Mabel Normand. Their films in particular were wildly popular. They had really good chemistry together. And Roscoe would make 18 films with Paramount Pictures over the next 3 years.
Pretty good.
Right? He's killing it. By 1916, Roscoe was suffering with some serious health issues. He had an infection in his leg so bad that the doctor actually considered amputation at one point, but he did manage to make a recovery, keep both of his legs, and continued to perform, being one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood at the time. In 1917, he, along with a big name producer named Joseph M. Shank, which, like, what a name, started a company together called Comique. It allowed him to perform and have control over his roles from start to finish. It also made him richer than he had ever been. Hence why he was able to throw such a bougie party in 1921. So what happened that night? We're back to Labor Day weekend.
Okay.
He and a couple of his friends rented 3 suites side by side at the St. Francis Hotel. They wanted to throw a huge rager to celebrate Roscoe's booming success, with as many big names attending as possible. This was during Prohibition times, though, keep in mind, so all of the booze for this party was snuck in Roscoe's car that had a hidden bar. Like, you push a button and a bar appears, like fucking James Bond. Virginia, her manager, and a friend of hers named Maud Delmont arrived at the party. And when they arrived, I'm so lame. I wrote they started to party hardy. Yeah. You know how sometimes when you write your notes, it's like your internal monologue, and my internal and sometimes external monologue is super lame. This is one of those moments. Virginia, her manager, and her friend Maud Delmont arrived at the party and started to party hard. Again, it's during the Prohibition era. They could literally get caught at any moment. They're going to make the most of the night. At some point, Virginia started complaining about not feeling too well. And she was also saying that she had trouble breathing. She was pulling at her clothing and almost ripping it, like she was just trying to get it off her body. Now, most friends would take their friend home, but Maud wasn't ready to leave the party of the century yet. They did, however, take her to one of the rooms in the suite, poured her a cold bath because she was overheating, and this only caused her to writhe in pain even more. Virginia also began vomiting, and her friends thought that she must have had too much to drink. When she stopped getting sick for the time being, they brought, this is version of events number 1. There's 3 different versions I'm going to tell you. Sorry, I did not preface that very well. So she's complaining of being in pain. She's in the bathroom. When she stopped getting sick for the time being, her friends brought her to a bed, propped her up with some pillows, and called the hotel's doctor. She was screaming, literally screaming in pain, holding her stomach. The hotel doctor said that he believed also that she had had too much to drink and gave her some morphine to sleep it off. The 1920s of it all. You have alcohol poisoning, possibly you've had too much to drink. Let's just drug you to be safe. She would spend the next 3 days in that hotel room, but only got worse and worse. Another doctor was called and said that they believed that she must have alcohol poisoning. And they learned that she was really suffering from a really severe infection in her body that was causing peritonitis, which was the swelling in the protective layer around your abdominal wall. So in your abdomen, all of your organisms, all of your organs are surrounded by this little membrane bubble that's supposed to keep them safe. Hence the screaming in pain and clutching her stomach. Unfortunately, by the time that doctors realized what was causing her so much pain, the infection had spread too far and it was too late. She was transported to the hospital following her diagnosis, but she died there on September 9th, 1921, just a few days later at the age of 30 years old.
Okay.
So we're going to get into versions number 2 and 3 here shortly.
Okay.
After her friend's death, Maud Delmont called the police and said that they needed to talk to Roscoe, that he was the reason that Virginia had died. Maud said that during the party, Roscoe and Virginia were sipping on a few cocktails together, at least 3 mixed drinks, and chatting at the party. Virginia and Roscoe had actually worked together on previous films in the past, and he had taken quite the liking to her. She said that she heard him say, "I have waited for you for 5 years now, and now I've got you," and that he took her to one of the nearby rooms and shut and locked the door. Maud said that she heard screams coming from the room and ran to knock and bang on the door. There's conflicting statements about whether somebody barged the door down or whether Roscoe finally opened it. But when the door was opened, Roscoe had PJ bottoms on, a robe, and was wearing Virginia's hat at a, quote, comical angle with a smirk on his face.
Okay. And then was this the point when Virginia was like, I'm ready to go home? And Maud was like, nah, let's stay. What the fuck, bitch?
You're allowed
Take
to
your
not.
friend home.
You're allowed to not like Maud. I'm just spoiling a little bit there, but yeah, not a great friend. Yeah, hold on. Let me just tuck you into bed in one of these rooms. No, I understand it's the 1920s, but you take your friend home or you take them to a hospital if they're screaming in pain, okay?
Yeah, also, if your friend possibly just got sexually assaulted, you do not say, but I want to still have fun. No, bitch. You fucking leave. Okay. It's not fun. It's criminal up in here.
Yeah, it's criminal. So not a good look. Virginia, on the other hand, was partially nude and clutching her stomach in agony. She called out to her friend, saying that she was dying, and that Roscoe had raped her. The force of his much larger body, forcing himself on her, allegedly had ruptured her bladder, which allegedly caused the infection that eventually killed her. Because when your bowels or bladder rupture, yeah, that does release bacteria and toxins into your body, peeps. In case anyone is wondering about the science of that. Virginia's manager that had come with the party with her corroborated Maud's story about the interaction between Roscoe and Virginia. And he even added that in a conversation in the days following the party, that Roscoe had bragged about using a piece of ice to rape her.
Okay.
He really threw it about in a joking manner, quote unquote, but still not a good look. Like, this woman is still deeply ill. You may or may not have sexually assaulted her, and now you're making jokes about it.
I just don't understand how Maud's story is like, yeah, she wanted to go home, but like I wasn't done partying yet. And then she's like, oh, but she was raped though. So why the fuck didn't you leave? I'm so angry. Ugh.
You're not going to get any happier. I'm sorry. Newspapers went nuts. The rumor mill spread. It was the story of the century. It was involving two of Hollywood's biggest up-and-coming stars. Initially, the papers ripped into Virginia, saying that she was, quote, an amateur call girl who partied regularly and tore off her clothes, which, like, fucking rude. And I know that it's very of the time to trash a woman's character because she was sexually assaulted. Actually, I won't even say of the time. It still happens. Women still get blamed for being raped, for being sexually assaulted, for unwanted attention based on who they are, which is fucking wrong. Okay, I'm mad. So the 1920s, they still did this shit. So they're slandering her name all over the papers. And on September 10th, Roscoe was arrested following Maud's testimony. His mugshot was on the cover of every paper, and there was multiple versions of the story, like I said, told by people at the party, told by Maud Delmont, and now we're going to talk about some stuff that was told by Roscoe during his time in questioning and his eventual, not one, not two, but 3 fucking trials. Buckle up, peeps.
Goodness gracious.
According to Roscoe, in his first version of events, he said that Virginia was acting hysterical and pulling at her clothes, which, you know, we kind of already talked about. She was saying she was in pain and she was pulling at her clothing, like hot and sweaty and wanting to get it off.
Sounds like me when I have heartburn. Whenever I have a heartburn, I'm like, take my bra off.
Yeah. I'm like, just I need to breathe. Yeah. I feel like I can't breathe. Yeah, I get that.
There's too much pressure right
or like
here.
A panic attack. Like yeah. So he and other partygoers had been the ones to bring her to a different room and placed her in the chilled tub. And that he had never, not at any point, been alone with her at any time. And then the events ensued where they discovered the infection / thought that she had alcohol poisoning and so on and so forth. So during the trial, evidence was presented on both sides. It's for the first 2 trials, it's a little unclear who testified where, I will say. But they did have a forensic testimony and they did have a medical examiner's testimony that were both super fucking conflicting and confusing. So on the room that Virginia had been held in, the forensic examiner said that there was 2 sets of handprints on the door handle to that particular room. One set was Virginia's, one set was Roscoe's. And the way that he described it was like one on top of the other. Like she had maybe tried to open the door and he had grabbed her hand, but because his hand was so much bigger than hers, his fingerprints had left an impression. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also like if you're at the same party,
You're both going to
people
be touching the
touch.
same door. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what they said. So that's what his theory was. Like she had tried to escape. However, the medical examiner had said that her body didn't. By the way, her medical examiner's name was Shirley Strange, which is just the greatest medical examiner name I've ever heard in my life.
What is it?
Shirley Strange.
Okay.
You don't get to do anything else. You just have to be a medical examiner. And she had said that Virginia, following the examination, did not show any signs of having been attacked. However, if you look at her autopsy photos, there are and even in trial, she had testified that there was bruises on her arms and on her legs. Now, if people had carried her to and from a tub, those bruises could be caused from grasping her hands and legs. They could have also been caused in an instance of a sexual assault and forcing yourself on somebody. So a little unclear as to what's caused those, but she said that there was no like vaginal tears or anything that suggested rape. However, that does not mean that she was not assaulted in any way.
Huh.
Also, this medical examiner said that it didn't seem like she had been attacked, but she had fingertip bruises all over her. So I'm not really sure that I trust what they have to say. Roscoe at this point stuck with his story that he had never been in the same room alone with her and that he had been trying to help her that evening. During the end of this trial that began, the first one, rather. First of fucking 3 trials. Do you think that they just wanted the publicity? Anyways, the first trial began on November 14th, 1921. And the 7 of the jury members believed that he was not guilty following the verdict, and 3 of them believed that he was guilty. So it was a mistrial. They had to reschedule it. The second trial began on January 11th, 1922, and the jury's outcome was mostly the same, but it was basically flipped. 7 of the jury members thought he was guilty, and 3 of them thought he was innocent. So again, it wasn't enough to testify. During the third trial, they're like, we have to do something different. Yes. When I start speaking with my hands, guys, I'm getting really excited about a case because it's nonsense and sometimes I don't make sense. So thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, you're good.
The third trial began on March 13th, 1922. And prosecution was like, if we're going to win this case, we got to change up our story a little bit. Roscoe did change up his story quite drastically. He said that he had been the one to find Virginia vomiting, and so implying that he was in the same room / same bathroom with her, and that he was the one that put her into bed. And then that was when Maud Delmont started banging on the door and trying to get in. Hearing her friend screaming in pain, because she was screaming in pain and clutching at her stomach because she was dying and in like medical distress. And the 1920s of it all, she just got fucking morphine and was told to sleep it off. But anyways, there was also a lot of corruption in the third trial, specifically with the partygoers that were called to testify. A couple of the partygoers that were called to testify were actually really close friends of Fatty Arbuckle, and so of course we're going to speak to his character. But they said that they had seen a little bit of suspicious behavior at one point and had seen had seen Roscoe bring Virginia into that room that Maud Delmont had said she had heard her screaming afterwards, and then opened the door and saw all of this. They were paid by the prosecution to like act in his favor, so their testimonies were wiped. Then there was the matter of Maud Delmont. So something really sinister came about of her past in the middle of the third trial, which made her initial testimony and like thoughts on what had happened that evening basically null and void, which is unfortunate because if she was telling the truth, we'll get there, but possibly justice wasn't served here. But if she was lying, she is doing so much more damage for women that are trying to come forward when they are abused in any sense of the imagination. So it's really unfortunate. So basically, Maud hung around the celebrity crowds and had a little group of ladies that liked to attend celebrity parties, accuse a big, rich, drunk man of raping them, and getting payouts for them to be silenced, not wanting to ruin their reputation. So Maud was exposed as being a known liar and an orchestrator of this group of women. Mm-hmm. So with Roscoe being one of the biggest names in Hollywood at the time, being paid $1,000 a week, like plus commissions, it's a wonder whether or not he was targeted because he was the one hosting this party. So she had also allegedly written a letter to her friend saying that she's got Fatty right where she wants him. So, and that was a couple of days before Virginia had died, that the letter was allegedly written to her friend. So basically all three trials were just a big media circus, a big he said, she said, a big lie. So unfortunately, because their biggest testimony and their biggest piece of evidence and suspicion against Roscoe, that drastically changed this third trial, and he was found not guilty.
Yeah.
Sierra's like, given that entire rant, I saw that coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest, he sounds not guilty to me from the beginning. What kind of fucking friend is like, my friend just got raped, but I'm partying? Fuck
True.
that girl.
True. Even though Roscoe was acquitted of all charges, he was banned from like being in any movies for the next 8 months following the trial. And even after that ban was lifted, he had a really hard time getting acting jobs, given all of the salacious rumors and things that were spreading around. And I mean, like, it's not right on either side. Like, Virginia's name didn't deserve to be dragged through the mud, which it was. But if he's innocent, his name didn't deserve to be dragged through the mud either. So it's very unfortunate. And honestly, there might not be any way to know. When he wasn't able to get any work in acting, he started producing and directing under the pseudonym William Goodrich. Allegedly, one of his friends had suggested that he go by the alias Will B. Good, but he was like, that's too on the nose. We're going to go with William Goodrich. And between 1924 and 1932, he directed a number of comedy shorts under that pseudonym. June 28th, 1933, Roscoe had finished filming a movie called In the Dough, which, like, what is with these 1920s movies titles? That night, he met with a few friends to celebrate their first wedding anniversary, as well as to celebrate the making of his movie. And he reportedly said, "This is the best day of my life." However, later that night, he suffered a heart attack and died in his sleep at the age of 46.
Aww.
So,
at least he had one good day.
If he was innocent, yes, absolutely.
He was innocent.
If there was any, who knows?
Technically, like, no, but legally, he
is innocent. Yes,
he is an innocent fucking person.
So, just a wild celebrity scandal of the time, and I hope you guys enjoyed that story. Either way, they both died way too soon and at the heights of their careers, and it was just really sad. So
Yeah. Don't give morphine to people who are suffering from alcohol poisoning. That sounds pretty fucking stupid.
the 1920s of it all. Like, we know that. Let's not add drugs to alcohol. I just thought that was like crazy. And then they're like, yeah, we can leave her in this hotel bed for a few days. It's like, no, she take her to the fucking hospital. So it's like, it's not clear that if she had gotten to a hospital like that night, if she would have lived or not. But by the time, like 3 days later, the infection was just too bad.
Yeah.
We know what happens when our bodies go into sepsis. We've all watched Grey's Anatomy. It's not good. And just a
Yeah.
horrific way to die. So I hope that none of you have heard of this case before. And if you have, I hope you enjoyed my telling of it. I wanted to go to a different route for our celebrity crimes cases because let's face it, the celebrities of our era are just they're dickbags. They're all committing crimes for the most part. Except for Nick Jonas. He can do no wrong. But before
Don't
we
say
roll,
that. Don't manifest bad things.
sorry, I will not besmirch his name on our show. A listener of the show for sure. Before we roll on out of here, Sierra, do you have anything happy or thankful or something to share with the Twisted Humans?
We just recorded our May bitch and wine, and I talked about April books, and it's still April, and so April wasn't over yet, and it's like I just said, still April, and I finished 2 more books. I finally finished The Canopy Keepers. I
How
only
was
had like
the
10
ending of
pages
that
left.
one?
I love the message behind the book. I love the meaningfulness of
Aw.
the book. I love what it's trying to be.
Okay.
It did not deliver as well as it could have. Like it seemed rushed a little bit in parts. Like there were parts that like time moves differently in the land where trees are people or whatever. But at the same time, like at one point, the main character like goes down and meets these people, these tree people, and literally the next day, I don't even know if it was a full 24 hours, she's bawling over one of them getting in trouble because she's in love with him. And I'm like, you
I fell in love with
literally
that
just
quickly.
met him. Literally. Like, this isn't like, girl, you just met him. You've only known him 3 months. No, literally, you just met this character.
Do you not believe in love at first sight, Sierra?
Not to that extreme. Like, there's plenty more of them. Like they didn't even speak to each other. She's just like, I know I love him. I'm like, no, you don't. That's weird. Anyway.
You are delusional, ma'am.
So it was rushed in parts, I think. But I love the idea behind it. It was still good. I would still recommend people read it. Also, I read the first and the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series.
Maybe you've heard of it all over the fucking internet, guys.
Holy fucking shit. The first one was good. I was like, okay, this is like, a fairy tale book, whatever.
I like it. I'll continue. Yeah.
The second one, I was like crying, literally crying, laughing, going, yes, like it was all the emotions. It was fucking amazing. Such a good
love
book.
Books like that.
Oh, so good.
All right.
You got to read the first one to understand the second one, but
what is the second one called? Do you know
one.
off the top of your head? For anyone that's
Court
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Mist and Fury.
Thorn of Mist and Fury.
No, Court
of Mist and Fury.
So, okay. Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yes.
The next one is Court of Mist and Fury.
What's the abbreviation that people use for it all the time that I'm like?
ACOTAR.
ACOTAR. There it is.
Yeah. I posted a review and Naria commented, of course, but my review
I love that you write thoughtful reviews. I will say that.
This one was not thoughtful.
No?
Because I didn't know how to not spoil it. My review literally just says, okay, holy moly, goodness gracious, By the Cauldron, new favorite book, I'm obsessed.
Again, go listen to us on Patreon. We talk about a lot of books, but my something thankful for was just today's yoga class, I'm going to say. It was just a little kick in the pants, little like spiritual boost that I needed, because I do get in my own head sometimes about everything that I put out there, about friendships, about relationships, about this podcast. So it was just nice to be like, no, you were forced to believe in yourself for 1 hour. And it was a super challenging class and I killed it. So
Good
that's on
job.
back. But yeah, I'm thankful for that. And I am thankful for all of you guys that listen. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening, specifically Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you can. And yeah, we appreciate you. We will see you next week for Sierra's Celebrity Crime. And in the meantime,
Keep it twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alicia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.